Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for the 29th of May. Now, not a lot of activity really across the board as we had the US Memorial Day and spring holiday in the UK. Now, just having a quick look at the majors, there's been a little bit of a sell-off here in dollar yen, sort of dipped down through 109.20. It's just down under 109, the figure. It doesn't seem to have a lot of momentum, but it did take the Kiwi and Aussie with it, just sort of halfway through that Asian session. But overnight, no major news out except the geopolitical situation in the Eurozone continues. The Italians look like they could be headed to another election. There's a major fallout after one of the crazy riots wasn't appointed finance minister. So really, if they do go back to the polls, it's going to be a quasi-EU basic poll. And if the right win, well, then they're going to pull out of the EU and all hell will break loose. So that's going to put a negative impact whilst that hangs over the market. I'm still optimistic that we're going to see a chance to sell euro back towards the trend line up here around 117.50, but it still looks like a bit of a stretch. I'm just being patient with that, just letting it drift lower, or that entry order drift lower as we go on. Now, UK holiday, so not a lot of activity. If anything, a little bit of sideways trading, but still this trend line on the top side is acting as very good resistance. It's going to provide us with a good entry, either to get short or long. So it's going to be good to see what comes out in that UK session as we move forward into Europe. Dollar CAD, okay, still trading higher. Oil sitting around 66.80. Now, it started trading sideways, and, you know, the Saudis, the Russians, the US are all starting to throw barbs. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the oil price, and that will determine where dollar CAD goes at this point. Don't forget, we do have the Bank of Canada in a couple of days' time, the interest rate decision. So that's the major pairs. Now, one thing that I'm just having a look at, and this is where that North Korean, South Korean situation is really coming into play. That summit, it's on again, it's off again, etc., etc. I mean, who knows? The dollar yen is moving around. Now, I know it's getting close to the month-end fix and all that sort of stuff, but we've got a few days to go. And all the yen crosses have broken down here. We've got Aussie yen broken down through sort of 82, sort of 45. The last yen cross to break was Kiwi yen today, but it has hit a level here, a bit of a triple bottom on the downside. And as you can see, dollar yen lower, euro yen only a little bit, sterling yen only a small amount as well, and same with CAD yen. So really Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, the real big movers following dollar yen. Okay, now just coming back to where the major focus goes from here. Well, what we're looking at is really, if you come back to the economic calendar, we've got a very light on calendar, all right? So the major focus, obviously, as we go forward is going to be the US consumer confidence numbers. The rest of the data is very light, but what we won't see on the calendar is the geopolitical situation in Italy sort of brewing. Okay, and that's going to be probably the main driver of action. It's pretty hard to call at this stage. So not a lot to go by from the calendar. Okay, now if I just get up the MyFX Trading Hub page, you'll see, you know, we've got a fair amount of time here to wait in between the next couple of events. Some of the major currencies look like they're a little bit, as far as the correlations go, a little bit out of whack. Okay, you usually expect to see some sort of correlation here, especially with the top 4 currencies and then the ones underneath. Now, they're a bit all over the shop. As I said, we've got a bit of a wait for the consumer confidence numbers. So to me, it's a real wait and see situation. Don't get caught into trading just because you're sitting in front of the screens. Having a couple of issues with our arrows. There's a lot of technical trades on at the moment, so focus on your technicals. That's a definite must. We'll get these arrows working here shortly, but as you can see, on the technical aspect, we aren't seeing too much on the fundamental outlook. And with those geopolitical events, that's, you know, pretty good reason. The fundamental direction of the currencies is a bit up in the air. Euro and sterling still drifting lower on the back of geopolitical events. Nothing to do with the central banks at this point. So that's where we are with regards the daily snapshot analysis. Still I'm just waiting for the markets to really reconnect before I start jumping into some of the more active trades. I've had this pending order in Euro. I've been extremely patient with it for the last sort of 10 days. I keep lowering the entry, just following that trend line down. But I'm still not overly, I mean, I still like Euro down, but the others, well, you know, it's a little bit loose at this stage to be throwing cash into them. But if you come back to the major currency pairs, this is where I think we will see some activity, and that's coming back into dollar CAD, right? Oil is a major talking point at this stage. We've got a good support trend line. We've got a bit of a resistance line. We had a bit of a false break above 130 yesterday in those thin markets, up to 130.20. So dollar CAD is going to be a major focus. That summit, that North Korean US summit, is definitely going to make dollar yen a favourite. The risk on, risk off appetite will come into play with Kiwi and Aussie. So they are sort of pretty much waiting to go. The Italian issues are going to put downward pressure on Euro, but I can see at least a good bounce in that. You know, as it is, it's all rumour and speculation at this stage. So Euro still moving there, and dollar and sterling, bit of mixed data, but Brexit still hanging over it. So potentially, you know, I've got one order in the market there, but potentially going forward, I can see a number of orders coming up here straight away, especially on those yen crosses as well. So just hang in there. The markets are forming quite nicely. We still have to get that reconnection from the UK and the US after the weekend. So we may see some busier markets, especially if those economic consumer confidence numbers out of the States are a little bit skew-if. So keep an eye on that as we go. All right, so to me, the week hasn't really started yet, even though the currencies have reconnected. We're still waiting for some data. We're still waiting for some firm news with regards to North Korea. Still waiting for some more information out of Italy on the geopolitical situation and also Brexit. So plenty of stuff in the melting pot, but nothing at this immediate stage. All right, guys, take it easy, and we'll see you in the live trade zone. Cheerio.